love this unit about civilizations because civilizations have developed at different times and different locations. But every civilization has developed a scientific or technical breakthrough that has changed our world even today. For example, the person that invented the wheel didn't have the internet, didn't have school or university. And the people who invented this kind of architecture and buildings, 6,000 years ago, we knew how many degrees were in a circle. That's right, this is not a modern invention. And we knew how to mix metals to create chemicals and new metals. We even knew how to do eye surgery. So today we're going to travel back in time, 6,000 years, to the most ancient civilization on planet Earth. And we're going to look at the achievements of the Sumerian Civilization. This is where I want everybody to pause the video and write down the heading that is in the green box into their own books. What were the achievements of the Sumerian civilization? Pause now. Sumeria comes from a region that used to be called Mesopotamia. And that's because Meso means between and Potamia means two rivers. And in class, we looked at the importance of actually being between two rivers. The two rivers were called the Tigris and the Euphrates River. The earliest cities were Eridu and Ur, where Ibrahim came from. And because people didn't have to move around looking for food, they could build cities and stay there. On this slide, you can read all about some of the massive architecture called ziggurats that they built. And I've given you a challenge activity to try yourself. How many of you think you could build a building like that out of stone without any of our modern day equipment? Now imagine using just your hands and the tools you find in nature to build something like this. But I have some more fun facts. Did you know that the prophet Ibrahim came from Ur in Sumeria? The name Ibrahim is Sumerian, and it's one of the oldest names we have. They also had a legend about the world being destroyed by a flood. And today, scientists believe that Mesopotamia could have possibly been covered by a giant flood. So maybe the story of Noah had a historical basis. I've left you a link if you want to find out more about that. The Sumerians called this legend the story of Gilgamesh. But that's not all. This is also where we invented writing. Now, when you see the date that says BC 3,500 years ago, you actually need to add 2,000 years to that because BC means before Christ, and Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. All of this is on your Google Classroom, so you can spend some time looking at the slide and seeing that handwriting originally came from pictures that looked very similar to the original thing. Once we had writing, we could also record the laws. And the Code of Hammurabi were the first ever laws on record. King Hammurabi put the rules on a 6-foot stone, and there were 282 laws that had to be obeyed by every citizen. By today's standards, some of them are incredibly strict. For example, if a man damages the eye of another man, then the culprit shall have his own eye destroyed. And if a person breaks another man's bone, the bone of the culprit shall also be broken. Does this sound fair to you, or totally barbaric? So we have so much to thank Mesopotamia for. For example, not only did they give us writing, they also gave us farming. And math, numbers. They knew there were 360 degrees in a circle. Look at that, that is your earliest protractor. And they knew how to mix metals to make bronze, so they knew about chemistry too. And they invented the wheel. Can you imagine where we would be today if we didn't have cars or wagons or plains? So what happened to this mighty kingdom of Mesopotamia? Well, in 637 AD, Mesopotamia was conquered by an Islamic army and became a caliphate before becoming modern-day Iraq. But do the math. That meant that the civilization had existed for over 5,000 years, making it one of the longest ever kingdoms on planet Earth. And because Mesopotamia introduced us to farming, that meant our populations grew. And so people had to leave the Middle East and go to places like India and Europe. So if you are European or Asian, you originally came from Mesopotamia. But now you have some tasks to do. Here are some questions you need to do in your book, and then you need to answer this question too. We will be discussing your answers in our next lesson. Now, if you work very well and focus, you'll finish early, and that means you'll have some extra time to work on your summative, which is due at the end of this week. Or you can stay on the website and learn a little bit more about Babylon. I hope that this has been a fascinating start to our units about ancient civilizations.